Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar on driving success in financial services with Sage Intacct. My name is Hannah Monroe and I head up the Intacct practice here at itas. So we are a financial transformation consultancy that specialises in Sage technology. And we're all about helping our customers get the freedom to focus on what they do best, which basically means taking away the hassle of finance, the administration, the complex spreadsheets, and allowing finance teams to transform into the finance team of the future by using the best technologies that are available. So we've won a number of different Sage Awards, but obviously the one that is most relevant to this presentation is the fact that we are Sage Intacct Partner of the Year as well. So if you'd like to learn more about itas, happy to talk you through that. Please do reach out or explore our website to find out a little bit more about what we do. So one of the things we do have here at itas is obviously we're very focused on financial services as an industry, hence why we've put together this specialist presentation to take you through how Intacct can help drive that future finance team. So I think it's really important to understand that Sage Intacct as a product is very industry focused, and as you can see that across the globe it is used by big financial services firms to drive the next generation of reporting and visibility when it comes to the finance asset. And it works across a number of different types of financial services organizations, everything from asset management, venture capital, through to insurance as well. So what are the trends that we're seeing at the moment? So we're seeing that operating costs are growing. That you're looking for higher returns when you're looking to invest, and very much the decision timeframes that you have are starting to shorten. You're having to make decisions quicker, and in order to do so you need better information. So Sage Intacct has, a range of different features and functionality, but at its core, it is all about getting good information, about driving, automatic and continuous consolidations, that step towards that continuous close, automating your processes across multiple entities, and it's all about being audit ready. So because of the way that the automation works, we have full visibility, full transparency, and it is, at its core, it's a best-in-class modern cloud platform. So it's not a platform that's been shifted onto the cloud, it has been built in the cloud and has been designed for the cloud. But one of the differences with Sage Intacct is that it's designed to be best-in-class core finance. It has a world-class API that can connect into additional modules to bring data in, but it acts as that that powerful core finance, and you'll see that when we talk about some of the capabilities. So it's got a GL that has AI capabilities. It's got the multi-dimensional chart of accounts, and the power behind this best of breed style is that as your business develops and as you grow, you might want to swap out those surrounding platforms. Maybe you might start off with Expense In and shift to SAP Concur, and so what Sage Intacct allows you to do is connect the dots around your business and get the best possible solution for that team, for that department, for that function, but then be able to connect it in. So you at its heart, you're using the best software for the best purpose. And then that allows you the flexibility then to choose what that software is, without the hassle of changing your entire infrastructure. I think it's also important to point out that Sage Intacct has actually been recognised for its visionary development. So it's actually been by a number of different industry analysts, and year on year it's been classed as visionary. It is the number one for customer satisfaction, and not just G2 but also Trust Radius as well, and it's the only preferred provider for AI CPA. And I think it's important because it gives it that financial stamp of authority. So it has been built by accounting professionals for finance teams. Okay, so let's talk about some of the functionality that we have, and we will get on to showing you some of the software, I promise. But Sage Intacct, the first biggest thing is the fact that you get real-time insight with dynamic dashboards. These are drillable, interactive dashboards that can be analysed across the dimensions and the sub-segments of data that you as a business need. The concept of continuous consolidations, yep, with automatic inter-entity elimination. So if you're managing large numbers of entities, we say the phrase, you can consolidate hundreds of entities in minutes, not days. Yep. And I think that's a great way to sum up the consolidation capabilities. And just so everybody knows, that also flows through into the reporting, which we're going to show you in a bit. And of course, the finance automation that sits in the background. So we have a tool called Dynamic Allocations that automatically generates and, posts, if you want to, your month-end journals. You also have the ability to build your own processes and customize posting rules within the system. And of course, it all comes back to the importance of not only getting that good information, but being audit ready at any point. Yeah, so you always know that your numbers are correct and you have that traceability and auditability within the system. So some of the firms that have used Sage Intacct, what have they achieved? So Trio & Partners, they grew their entity structure 43% without having to hire any additional staff. Yep, so they were struggling with challenging reporting. They were trying to provide reports for 10 different partners. As more partners joined, they needed, they had to add more entities. And they basically took them 90 days to complete their quarterly reporting. Yep, and they had no visibility into the partner level investment value. What happened after they implemented Intacct? So obviously faster insight, and partners had access to their own dashboards, multi-dimensional financial visibility by entity, investment and fund. Yep, and again, it was all drillable. It was, partners were able to get access to this information, and they actually shifted from quarterly to monthly reporting. And they were able to, as I said earlier, increase their entity growth by 43% with no additional finance capacity. Okay, so that's an example of how Sage Intacct can not only help you get better reporting, but it can also streamline what you are doing. So let's jump into the software and let's have a quick look at how that looks and what we can do there. Okay, so here is Sage Intacct. So the first thing, I'm just going to point out the obvious. We are launching Sage Intacct from a web browser. And I think this is an important part. So Sage Intacct has been born in the cloud. It's purely browser-based, which means you can access it from any device, from anywhere. We do also have, from a phone, you get mobile views for purchase authorizations and also access to dashboards as well. So the dashboards and the reporting within Sage Intacct is one of its key strengths. It's actually one of the best reporting platforms that I've seen, even when I've worked with BI platforms as well, particularly for financial reporting. So I'm going to take you through some of the features and functionality that it has as part of that is particularly relevant to financial services. So within Sage Intacct, we can build both role-based and also shared dashboards. So depending on the type of financial services firm you are, whether you're obviously a wealth and asset management company, maybe you're a family office, a venture capital firm, depending on the type of organization, you will have slightly different reporting needs. Yep. So Sage Intacct can be adapted to suit your individual requirements, not only by industry, but as a business as well. So here's an example of the sorts of information that I can see. So I can have the ability to set KPI dashboards at the top, and I can customize the time periods that I'm looking at this at. I can change the indicators that I'm looking at. So if it's going up or down, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And the idea behind this is that I get instant visibility of, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Yep. So is it going down? Is it going up? Where are the areas that I need to focus on? Our dashboards are fully drillable. Yep. So I can click on the information. As an example, I've got a report down here. I could click on the investment line and drill into there, or I could actually click on the values and drill directly into the information that sits underneath it. And I can continue to drill as well. So I can go into here and I can understand where that information has come from. If it's a journal entry, I can see the detail. If it's a purchase invoice, I can see if I've attached a document that would sit within the system as well. So that full visibility without and that's one of the challenges when people are working with Excel spreadsheets and exporting data from a system, produce reports, is you don't necessarily have the numbers that go underneath it. Yep. And because we have that, and because the reporting is real time, it's just so much more agile. The other difference, I think, with Intacct compared to a lot of other systems is the fact that it's multidimensional. So I can, and we'll talk a little bit about this more, but what that means is that every transaction that I post to the ledger can be tagged with an investment, can be tagged with an asset, can be tagged with a partner or a family member, depending on the type of organization that you are. So you can, rather than having to have a really massive chart of accounts that's not very flexible, is challenging to change, you actually have the ability to slice and dice your nominal in different ways. So what does that mean? So here's, I'll talk you through some of the areas that you could do that. So for instance, I can analyze investment mix. Yep, I can take the investment nominals and analyze them by those elements. I can quickly expand upon and build custom dashboards based on the type of organization I am. So here's an example, right? So if I look at my family member dashboard, yeah, so I can choose I can see across the different entities within the organization what's happening. I can also, if I just switch over to my investment funds dashboard, I have the ability to filter and look across each investment, each investment, understand what's happening there. I can look at different combinations of entities within the organization as well. So depending on how you're structuring your investments, whether that is, each entity, you're setting up a different entity for each investment, whether you're actually making postings within those entities against an investment, there's a couple of different ways we can structure your chart of accounts and your dimensions to give you that reporting. The other thing as well, I think it's important to note, is that we can record not only financial information, but we also have the ability to record statistical information. Yep. So that is non-financial metrics. So we can put those in as well, depending obviously on the type. So it could be headcount, it could be, and that could just be, that could be held across departments as well. It could be numbers of investments. If there's particular, depending on the type of investment that you're making, there might be additional metrics. So all of that can be incorporated and pulled into your dashboards so that you can do calculations off the detail as well. So we've mentioned the drill down, we've mentioned the fact that it's multidimensional, and I'm going to show you an example of how the multidimensional piece works. So if I go in and I enter in a journal, pop over here, you'll notice I can set up my own custom types of journals, for instance, expenses. Yeah, but if I just go and enter in a general journal. Yeah, add a general journal. When I enter in a journal, I can enter it not only in different currencies, and we'll talk a little bit about the foreign currency capabilities, but I can enter it across various different dimensions. So I'm actually entering this journal at a top level, and I can enter it across entities, and it will automatically calculate the inter-entity postings for me. I can also, on each individual line, I can allocate that journal across various different entities or investments. Yeah, so when we talked about the multidimensional, so I can enter it across obviously suppliers, customers if it's relevant for you, but employees. We've got types, so investment types. We've got projects as well if that's something that you monitor. But you can also customize and add more dimensions. So obviously departments, a standard dimension as well. So you can slice and dice your nominal, as I said, without having to expand the structures of the chart of accounts. And you can also, as a note, set up pre-built allocations. Yep. So I can set up a set of, so here is an example of a cross-entity allocation. If I just pop in maybe £1,000, yep, it's automatically split it across those two entities, and obviously, and it's also in this case applied it across those departments. Yep. And this is a pre-built allocation that I've set, but then I could go in and I could actually customize the allocation, and I can split it. I could either obviously add more lines, or I could flag it across. Maybe I want to apply that particular employee to a particular partner to a particular investment. All right. So within the system, we have that allocation capability. So one of the things that a lot of financial services that we talk to use is they want control of their purchasing. So they want the ability to have multi-level authorizations. They want to have the ability to customize those structures that it works in. So Sage Intacct gives you the ability to build your own custom purchasing workflow. It also gives you the ability to create authorization structures across those different processes. So you could have a purchase order authorization, you could have a purchase invoice authorization, and you could have a purchase payment authorization, all with their own individual purchasing setups. Yeah, and it's all digital. So what we're doing is we're shifting away from doing this via email or paper, and we're getting the ability to do it all within the system. And from an automation perspective, you can take things a step further. So we have OCR technologies that will automatically scan and enter the invoice for you. Obviously, it's an AI process, so it learns with you. So you check it, you'll check a few of them initially, but then the system will learn with you, and it'll learn where you're posting different elements. That will then get posted into the ledger, into Sage Intacct, and then it will follow that authorization routing. Okay. So we also have the ability to quickly and easily pay invoices. Pay invoices, pay bills. We can quickly identify which invoices we want to pay. We select them. From this screen as well, we can drill down into the individual invoices. And of course, only invoices that have been approved will appear on this. So you can select the invoices that you want to see. You can actually then drill down into the underlying transaction that sits underneath this. It might be that you want to look at the invoice. So you can click on here and see the invoice and the information. And do remember, as I said, we have the ability to attach documents in. So if a document's attached, you could click and actually see the originating PDF. That can then go into a payment run. So I can go to add to my my outbox. And I can then, that can then be sent to somebody to approve, and it will automatically generate the backs file, which can then be uploaded into your banking system as well. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the purchasing side. Do remember, I am going through this little overview at a rate of knots. So just to give you a flavour for some of the capabilities specific to financial services. But if you would like to learn more in a bit more detail, please do feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to go through a more personalized demo to cover some of the functionality that might be more relevant to you. Okay, so we've covered interactive and multi-entity dashboards. We've covered the concept of the multi-dimensional ledger. We talked a little bit about having control over your purchasing with digital authorizations. So now let's look at the concepts of consolidations, because that is such a challenge when you've got a large number. So you'll notice when I'm looking here, I'm looking across different entities. Yep. So Sage Intacct has a couple of different ways that it works with entities. So firstly, the reporting that the reporting that you see can either be viewed from an individual entity level. So if I just pop into one of the dashboards, and you'll see we have a whole suite of entity dashboard. So I'm just going to look at my consolidation dashboard. Obviously at the moment I'm only looking at one entity, yep, but this consolidated reporting can be, if I wanted to, I could add in a filter for entity as well. So you'll notice here that I've got multiple different entities, and this is obviously consolidated. I can choose to consolidate automatically on a schedule on a daily basis, or I can literally tick a button and tick a box and it will consolidate multiple entities for me. Okay, but with every single dashboard on the system, you have the ability to add your own custom filters. So we talked about those dimensions, but entity is one of those dimensions. So I can pop into any dashboard and I can filter by what we call location, which then allows us, and I'll add in department just so you can see, but that then allows us to filter reports by those dimensions. Yep. So for instance, I've got my consolidated dashboard here, but if I wanted to, I could filter to just show one particular entity. Yeah, I also have the ability to build multiple entity groups. So rather than having to, to then look at each individual entity, it might be I just want to look at all entities within a certain entity structure, which I can do. In this case, it could be my property group. I could have my recruitment group. I could have my the business is owned by a particular family member. I could have a certain type of partners. You can have a think about how you want to build out your entity structures. And the nice thing about the way Intacct works is we can build multiple entity structures. Yep. So the same entity can belong to multiple different structures. So again, from a reporting perspective, it gets very easy to drill down and to get information without having to then, even in Excel, you'd have to rebuild that report. Okay, so what else do we do? So I pop onto my foundation as well. So one of the things I mentioned earlier was around the statistical information. Okay, so I think it's important just to point out. So in this case, I've got the ability to store information that is not financial. So here I've got applications reviewed, awards issued, volunteer hours, for instance. Those are not financial values, but they are not what we call statistical values that are then imported into the system. And again, they can be imported against dimensions. So depending on how you structure your dimensions, you can also filter those. And so for instance, they can go across entities and then be consolidated up as well. So what's next on the list for us to cover? I guess the final piece is to talk about how we can automate finances. So particularly with financial services, you might have to do, we talked about the allocations function, sort of within when you're entering a journal, you might be able to do an automatic split across departments, across entities, etc., and it will do that. But I think it's also important to mention the fact that we have a dynamic allocation modules. So for example, if you wanted to automatically allocate overheads, or investment manager salaries across different investment funds, or management costs across different entities, across different investments, you can build basically build a routine in the background that will automatically do the calculations of what you should be creating. So it will basically, you confirm the basis. So the basis is what you want to do the splits based on. So that could be a statistical information, it could be based on revenue, it could be based on number of investments, etc. Yeah. And then what it will do is you then specify the accounts that you want to pull from. So you can pull from, a number of different salary accounts or your overheads accounts. Yep. And then the system will do the calculations for you and post the journal. Plus, it will store a copy of its calculations against the journal. So you've always got that audit trail within the system as well. Okay, so on that note, I think we've almost finished our overview of our dashboard. Our Sage Intacct environment. This is like I said, it's a very quick overview, just in time for you to grab a coffee, have a look. But if you would like to learn more, then please do reach out. We're more than happy to take you through the detail of this as well. And one thing I forgot to mention, of course, is the fact that the consolidation piece also supports multiple currencies. So we support multiple currencies across not only entities, but also we can enter journals in different currencies, supplier and customer invoices in different currencies, bank account in different currencies, and we can also do automatic revaluation as well. So I hope this quick overview of the software has been useful and shows you some of the capabilities of the system. But if you would like to learn more, then please do reach out to our team or join one of our other demos on the system. We have a huge amount across our website. Please do look at some more content. So thank you again for joining our whistle-stop tour of Sage Intacct for Financial Services. I do hope it gave you a flavour for how powerful Sage Intacct is. And I'm going to be honest, we've literally only touched the surface. So if you would like to learn more about Sage Intacct, there's a couple of ways you can do it. We do have some, various different demos across our website and loads of content. So please do feel free to consume it. If you would like to learn more about how it can work for you specifically as an organisation, please do, you can request a personalised demo, request a consultation, and our team are incredibly knowledgeable, particularly when it comes to financial services, and can take you through the powerful capabilities of Sage Intacct. And to be honest, we'd love to find out more about you as an organisation and how we can help you. So please do reach out. And as you know, we are, as I said, UK Partner of the Year, and we very much do believe in working in partnership. So for us, working with Sage Intacct and working with our customers is a long-term relationship. So we want to spend the time getting to know you and your organization and finding out how we can help you create the finance team of the future, that automated real-time reporting organization. Thanks for joining, and I hopefully see you soon.